Let's go out to where my parents live in Abilene, Texas, and talk to Tracy. What's up, Tracy?
Hey, we're hot here.
Tracy, is this Tracy?
This is Tracy.
Oh my. Tracy. How in the world are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
You've known me for a long time, and I'm speechless right now.
I'm excited.
Oh man! All right, so for the rest of y'all listening, Tracy, how would you classify? Tracy ran my life for years, and Tracy had on this show and just in books and where I've talked about just melting down. Being doubled over with anxiety and just really melting and having to figure my way back out. Tracy had a ringside seat to that. You watched it real close up. And Tracy is one of the people that I credit with being the tether that kept me held to reality when things got real thin and scary. So I could tell with your voice, Tracy. Good gracious. It's so good to hear from you.
Me too. I'm excited to talk to you.
Oh, man. All right. What have you done now? Just kidding. What are you up to?
Well, I just had a hard day the other day, and I said, I'm going to just write all this down and see if I can get some help. And then I got a call. So I was like, ooh, that's different than I expected.
Well, number one, thank you for reaching out. And two, you can always just call my cell phone. You're in my inner circle. You're in my super inner circle.
Yeah.
I'm only here because you were in my life and made sure I was fed and watered for a couple of years. So, all right. So, what's going on? How can I help?
Well, I have an adult child, 27 years old. She came a little later in life. There's 10 years separation between her and her older siblings. So she was a baby. I knew she was going to be my last child, and I kind of ruined her. I spoiled the heck out of her, which I enjoyed every second of it. And I had people telling me all the way, hey, you're not doing the right thing.
Give me an example.
What do you mean? I never said no. I just figured there's a way we can make everything happen. We can make everything work. She's super smart, talented, charming, highly capable. So I followed everything, went to everything, encouraged everything, paid for everything. Whatever you need, we got it. Just everything.
And so what happened recently that set you off?
Well, it's been a little while, but it just seems like maybe the veil has been lifted from in front of me, and I'm seeing it a little different. She has a little bit of a tendency to self-sabotage, so she never really gets to the success level. So she can see what that feels like or enjoy that, which always leaves her kind of in a mess.
What does she get when she gets in a mess?
Well, she quits her job or gets fired.
No. Underneath that, what does she get?
I don't know. Attention, maybe.
I can think, other than my wife and 2 or 3 of my closest friends, and this is just me talking to my friend right now.
Mm-hmm.
I can think of a few. Oh crap, Tracy, I'm gonna get all choked up. I can think of few people in the world that have had more of a positive impact in a one-on-one, just listening and making me feel like everything was going to be okay than you. You did that for me personally, right at about her same age, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if that's what you get for getting fired, I'd get fired every other week. I had to stay employed to get that with you.
Me too.
Yeah, exactly. That meant you had to make sure both of us were still employed. So if that's what she gets, if she gets some special one-on-one time with an extraordinary listener and an extraordinary encourager and an extraordinary, it's going to be okay, we're going to figure it out, then I don't know why I would need anything else. Everyone's pushing me to get these other things. That's what I want, because that's incredible.
Well, and I love it. I love spending the time. I love being the ear that listens and the hug that comforts. I love doing that. But things have kind of shifted a little bit to being no longer really thankful or appreciative, more like kind of an owe. We owe it.
Ah, okay.
The financial help, the drop what you're doing. I'm coming, stay up all night, even though we have to get up and go to work, or,
Sure.
Just things are just different. And I don't want to break down the barrier of being the one that is the safety net or the comforting hug. I don't want to break that at all. I just don't know the best way to help and still protect us.
How's this affecting husband?
He loves me, and he says he'll do whatever I want to do. But I'm sure, if I'm feeling some anxiety about it, he's got to be feeling some too.
If it was just me and him having a drink out there in West Texas, what would he tell me?
He'd probably say, she needs to put a stop to this.
Right. And he'd tell me that too. I've hung out with him. So does the name Dr. Henry Cloud ring a bell?
I don't think I know who Henry Cloud is.
Okay. Him and a guy named John Townsend wrote a book long ago called Boundaries. He's a psychologist, and I'm going to quote him because I love the way he says it. He says it real direct. And here's what he said. He said, in your situation, what your daughter needs more than anything in the world, she knows you love her, and she knows you will be there for her. What she needs more than anything is she needs some problems. Because the one person she doesn't know will show up for her is her. Because that person's never had to. And the way we get problems is we sit down, usually with our significant other, and we say, okay, we're going to implement some boundaries here, and it's going to really be uncomfortable for everybody. And she'll kick and scream and say, you don't love me, and you're leaving me out to dry, and I can't believe you abandoned me and all that. And you, as a grown-up, will have to deal with how bad that hurts because you know that's not true. And what you have to transition from now is it feels good right now. It feels really awesome this evening to have her come home and hug and to make dinner and to just listen to her because she's hilarious. And think I'm aiming for a 35-year-old functional adult.
Right.
That is bringing their paid-for car over to my driveway. Or they're driving me around in their nice car that they paid for to help me find a good retirement home for me, right?
Yeah.
So ultimately, it's sitting down and saying something along the lines of, and I honestly, at this stage, at 27, I'd put it in writing. And that may be overly dramatic, which I have a flair for the over dramatic, but I'd probably put into writing, like, you are always welcome at our house, but at midnight, we lock the doors. You can't come in. Can't wake us up. From this point forward, we're not giving you any more money outside of X or Y or Z. Or here's $5,000 and this is it. If you get fired from your job, I will sit in the back porch and I will commiserate with you. I'm not giving you money. I'm not making another call for you. You're going to have to figure out what happens next. If you want to move into an apartment, you can move into an apartment. This may be a weird question. When you were young, did you get hung out to dry?
No. Not exactly.
That's the most Tracy answer. Did you have to figure things out at a real young age?
Oh, yes. Very young. Figure things out.
How young?
15.
Okay. Do you remember that not being fun? or lonely or isolating or scary?
I remember it being challenging, but now that I know myself, I think I like challenges. But maybe I like challenges because I figured things out. I don't know. But I don't remember hating it.
I think that might be the greatest gift you give her. It just is 12 years later, then you got it.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine a world where you say, I love you, no more money. I love you, you can't live here anymore. Or you got 3 months, you got to find your own apartment, you got to find your own place. I don't even know if she's living with you, whatever. But whatever boundaries you draw. You got to pay your own car insurance and your own cell phone bill. You're 27 years old, for crying out loud. And you can tell her, I've already had to babysit one other 27-year-old years ago named John, and I'm not doing it again. I'm doing it again. What happens after that?
I don't know what happens. I hope good things happen.
I know down the road, but you have a picture of that conversation. Does she hear that well and go, you're right, it's time for me to, how would that conversation go?
She's probably going to get mad and storm away, and I won't hear from her for a while.
Okay. And then she slams the door and walks out, and your husband looks at you. Walk me through what you would feel right then, because it's happened before.
I would feel crushed and I would cry, but also probably relieved. She's not a child. She doesn't need our safety net. She needs to figure it out on her own, but it would still crush me.
What if I told you she doesn't get a vote? Does that sound like gobbledygook counseling nonsense?
No, that's why I called. It doesn't sound like nonsense.
So I had this experience right after I moved from the city where we worked together, and I took my next job. Hank, I think, was still 2.5, maybe 3, and as long as I live, I won't forget this moment. I walked in the front door, and I saw Hank in the hallway, little bitty kid, and I said, "Come here, Bubba." And I had my backpack on, and I crouched down to be at eye level with him, and he looked at me and he said, "No, Daddy," and he took off running down the hall. And my first thought was, because you suck at being a dad. Maybe if you were here and you weren't taking more graduate classes after you're already done with grad school, and maybe if you would I created this whole story. And I told Sheila and told my wife, and her first response was, John, the only game you play with him is chase. He's trying to, that's how he knew how to connect with you. And that was the first, oh man, I missed it. And then as I went down that rabbit hole, I got to thinking, why have I given my 2.5-year-old a voice into how I feel? He's my kid. He doesn't get to dictate that. My wife does. Right. 2 or 3 of my closer friends do. You in my life, Tracy, did, right? You had permission to speak into my soul, right? Why would I give that to my kid? My kids are emotional. I'm their parent, right? So it comes back to practicing that, you don't get a vote. If your husband tells you, hey, you're being a terrible person, well, we need to have that conversation. If 2 or 3 of your close friends tell you that, we need to have that conversation. If your kid tells you, it hurts, it stings, but you don't get a vote. I'm moving here. I'm doing this, right? And I think the magic word for me has been, that's something I have to practice. It's just a skill set I don't have.
Right.
But it's going to be awful. I hate to tell you that. It won't be fun.
I've been practicing it in my mind. I know it's not going to be fun.
Can you practice it in real life?
I don't know. It seems like the things come you have to make an immediate decision. And I think that's part of the game.
Okay, that's where I would really challenge you.
I've got to do it right now.
I would
need this right now.
I would challenge you and your husband on that one. I think setting it up and going out to that Cracker Barrel out there and saying, here's what's going to happen now. Because it takes it out of the immediacy and we have to fire this thing off and it's much more intentional and you hold all the cards. You are setting up a breakfast. You are setting up the new boundaries. You are handing over a sheet of paper. Here's how we're going to honor and love you. And you can say that we don't love you if we don't give you everything you want, but this is going to be the new reality because we have to let you fly on your own. You got to learn how to do it. And so that makes it less immediate. And if she fires back with, what about this? What about this? What about this? The response has got to be, that's a great question. I'll think about that. We'll holler back at you. I'm not going to give you the right answer right now because that's not the point of this conversation. This conversation is to let you know from this point forward, here's what the boundaries are going to look like. It just takes that immediacy out of it, like that frantic, oh, I got to do it right now. Okay, you can stay. And now we're like, oh, crap. Now you're staying.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll give you $1,000. Just don't do anything stupid. It takes all that away.
Mm-hmm.
How's that sound?
Sounds okay. Hard.
Yeah. How about this? Here's my promise. You think she'd call into the show after y'all have that conversation and tell me how much she hates me?
I don't know.
All right.
She might. Probably not.
All right, here's the deal. You text my private cell number after the conversation, and if she throws a fit and goes BANANAS, you can tell her, John will talk to you. And I'd love to have her version on the show too.
Okay.
There's no chance she'll do that, but that would be awesome if she did, Tracy.
That would be awesome. I would love to hear the other side of it too, because I know there's two sides.
I don't know. I don't know about with you. You're one of the few good ones. So, hey, before I let you go, in front of all these people that are listening, can I just tell you thank you for being ride or die with me when I was falling apart? Like, for real.
Absolutely.
I'm really, really grateful.
Thank you for letting me be there.
Oh, come on, dude. Are you for real? Are you for real? I told you that story about the time we were having to make some really tough budget cuts and included a lot of personnel positions. And one day we were driving, me and my wife, and she goes, oh, yeah, hey, John, I can't believe I forgot to tell you. And I turned the window down, and I was like, what? And she goes, if you cut Tracy's position, I'm leaving you. And I was like, why? And she goes, she looked at me and her, and she like moved her finger back and forth, and she's like, because us, we only work because of her. And I just remember thinking, that's exactly right. So on behalf of everyone, this show is being even possible, thank you for being that string at the end of my crazy balloon that was floating off to outer space that kept me tethered to the ground. And thank you for honoring me by calling in on the show. You've got my cell number. You call me anytime, day or night. And I love you. And I'm so, so, so grateful for you. And if I can help in any other way, holler back at me. We'll have you back on the show. And I'd love to have your daughter on the show as well. You guys are awesome.